Is feminism about equality between men and women?
To me, and what I've learned and what a lot of people around me that I think have learned, is it's about equality. It's about equality between women and men, because for thousands of years, patriarchy has been a very prominent thing, and I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that.
Yeah, that's the unradicalized ideal of feminism that majority of women hold. They're not. Majority of women aren't radical feminists. Like, they're not.
It's a radical proposition to suggest that the history of the relationship between men and women is one of oppressor and one of oppressed. If you start teaching women that they've been oppressed,
it's really harmful for women to constantly hear, and this argument goes for a lot of different social movements, especially today. It's really harmful to constantly tell women that they've been oppressed and men have traditionally been the oppressors on a large scale, because it's just generally not true. You have bad people in pretty much every aspect of life, but it's not true on a large scale that men are constantly, or have in history, constantly oppressed women.
How is it not true when feminism doesn't exist because we didn't have the right to vote? We had literally no rights. Yeah. So how is it not true that
if there was a patriarchy
today, yes, I would say things are a lot more even today. But you're telling me there's no patriarchy, but we've had 49 different presidents, and
our system was built off patriarchy.
So don't say that we haven't.
We didn't even get a say.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that there haven't been certain.
But you said it's not necessarily true.
Which
no,
it is. No, I'm not. I'm saying that in a comparable men and women relationship, men in relationships, we're not oppressing women on a global sense. Okay, yes, legally, that's why first wave feminism, I completely agree with. Anything after that, I do not agree with. I'm glad that we have equal legal rights as to men, but I do not think that men and women are completely tradable in pretty much all aspects of life. But that's what that's what feminism today portrays.
I've been saying this whole time, is that not many people actually, the amount of people who you think believe that is just the people online that you see, the ones who have the influence online of that trait. I'm trying to tell you,
the general population
does not believe that as women, are not third wave feminists. Most women say they're a feminist because it sounds like you're against women to say you're not. Yeah. But we're not saying we're a radical third wave feminist. We're mostly talking about the work that our ancestors and others did to get us where we are today.
You can acknowledge that the fact that we couldn't vote, we couldn't go to school, we couldn't do all that stuff, that has been established, and that has been built up, so women's have they've gotten those rights. But you can't say that there's no oppressor, it hasn't always been like that, because it has. And feminism isn't this thing now we want more rights, we hate all men for what they did. That's not.
But isn't it a problem that is what you see in the mainstream media? I'm not saying that that's the majority of women that believe that, but isn't that a problem that's what's being portrayed?
Don't you think that the reason that mainstream media is specifically choosing the most radical versions of this is to turn people against feminism in general?
Yeah. Well, you're not seeing that for only feminism. You're seeing it for basically every other social movement.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. The extremes are always what's portrayed on the internet, and that's never how it's going to be.
With Santa Claus, or
the general population, like us, picked off the street, we all agree that it's
why? What? But why do you think? Even I'm saying you say that's a good point you bring up. But how does it hurt anybody? Because it's not women are going out there killing men because of this oppression. Nothing's happening to men.
I think it hurts your interpersonal. I think it hurts your interpersonal relationships.
Yes, but
actually, there's kind of a long history of feminist terrorism. Andy Warhol got killed by a feminist.
Who?
It's funny that you laugh at a man getting murdered, but okay.
Well, I'm laughing because I want to hear the evidence that it was because he was a man that she was murdering him. In the case of, let's say, even at UC Santa Barbara, we have I don't want to even bring up his name, but you know the incident.
Oh, don't tell. He'll switch it off real quick if you do.
Yeah. You know the incident that I'm thinking of.
Yes,
and
yes.
All I have to say is when men are misogynistic, it is a lot more dangerous to women than when women are man haters. Their man hating is just internal, and they don't really interact with them, or they just don't care. But when a man violently hates women because he feels like he can't get laid, and they owe me this, they become violent and take it out on women, and they will
It's It's a very,
to
very,
awful,
very,
horrible things.
very small proportion of men who are struggling with dating
but the
going
point
to
is,
resort
though,
to violence.
The point is, though, woman being a man-hater or a radical feminist does not usually incite any violence, whereas when it goes on the other spectrum of men,
I never said that it
that's
did.
when
I'm
it
not.
becomes an actual issue of public order.
Yeah, but I think here's a difference, general difference between men and women. So if, like, let's say two men have a conflict, it's more likely that that's going to result in some sort of physical violence. Whereas when two women have conflict, it's typically not going to get to the level of physical violence. It's going to be emotional violence, though. You're going to see reputation destruction. You're going to see, like, backstabbing. You're going to see. So we've criminalized men's primary method of conflict resolution, which in the past, if two men have a conflict, they'd fucking duel or fight or something physically, and then boom, we fought, cool, we're done. Whereas with women, we have not criminalized the emotional violence that women are going to
These ladies have
take
no
up on
clue at
men.
all. First, to this day, women are not required for selective service.
True.
Men are, or else we lose the right to vote. Second, women historically refused the right to vote because it came with conditions they did not want.
No feminist is for selective service for anybody.
It doesn't
Feminists
matter.
aren't saying
It doesn't matter.
That is
it does
something
matter.
but
Feminists aren't saying, like, yeah, men need to do the selective service and just not women. No, they have a problem with that too. Like, you guys, that's not what.
But
a
here's
terrible
the
point.
difference
That's a
is, right?
terrible-
When we're saying that feminism is about equality, feminism is clearly not about equality. Feminism, in its most generous, if I can give it its most generous definition, is a woman's advocacy movement. Now, there's nothing wrong with women's advocacy, but let's not sit here and lie that feminists will fight for equality if said equality comes to the detriment of women. For example, equalizing the draft. It would be equality to equalize the draft, but feminists are never going to fight for that equality.
Because they're not fighting for.
You only want preferential. You want benefits.
fight for yourself.
That's what.
If
Yeah,
you wanna
that's
get
something
rid of
that,
the
like,
draft,
a
fight.
man, I don't know, whatever you guys
Like,
call it. That's something that you guys should handle.
all I have-
Feminist was focused on helping women.
I think
So it's not about
I think
equality
it
then,
definitely got like misconstrued the original meaning of like feminist. Like I don't think I would consider myself a feminist because I don't know too much. Like obviously, like I'm not like
You're a first-rate
degrading.
feminist.
Yeah, I'm just saying like I don't know much about the movement itself. Like I'm just saying like feminist definitely has gotten misconstrued, especially the radicalness of like everything that's been happening. But I think that like generally someone, a woman, wouldn't like be like, oh yeah, she would want equal rights, but she wouldn't be like, oh, like kill all men. Like that's not like
That is literally a hashtag, though.
I know that is, but
women
that's
will-
that's a
not
hashtag.
serious,
It's on
though.
social media.
But also,
It's
can't
like
you
so
say the same thing?
I don't think
you guys
anyone's-
were talking about earlier how the boys went up and saying "fuck women." Like that's portraying just a small radical spectrum of the right wing.
Yeah.
But like feminists are like you were mentioning how you think it's not fair to
true, yeah.
group all feminists in like being crazy, but it's on both ends. Like
Good point.
Yeah, you selected
radical.
No, I
It's the
agree.
Hold
radical
on, Mike
feminism.
Davis has a very
$100.
kind message for you, Keeko.
People are still talking about feminism in 2023? I thought that joke expired. Actually, I'm all about it. Let's get another women's march going. Matter of fact, let's
Oh my
do it
God.
every Saturday so these plus-size fatties can drop a pound and free the nipple.
Mike Davis.
No, but that
okay,
is a good
free-
point. You guys brought up an outlier to
Yeah.
make an
Well-
argument against the red pill community. We can
Yeah.
easily do
I
that
was
for
saying,
but, like,
feminism too.
My point was just specifically to the media showing that. I mean, I'm not talking like I wasn't even mentioning conservatives in that like type of thing. Like that wasn't what I was talking about. What I was talking about was specifically to the instance of like this whole kill all men or these feminists are all super radical. Like I'm saying specifically for that. Is that not selection bias? Like they are specifically choosing things that would turn the average man against feminism. Like that is the point that I was making. I'm aware that they can do that for both sides, like obviously. But I just think that you take the most radical feminist, and yes, she's saying kill all men. She's not going out and stabbing men. You take the most radical woman hater. he is. He is quite literally.
Well, I don't think that's fair to like.
I don't think that's a fair comparison.
But so I don't think kill all men is the right thing to say all. But I don't think it's fair, or like to say it's right. But the difference is what she's kind of trying to say is if you do a hashtag kill all men versus like those kids saying, or a hashtag kill all women, what is actually possible? It would never be possible for women to go out and kill all men. We would never have the means or strength to do that. What is possible is for men to go out and kill all women. So that's why it is.
Wait,
I'm not saying it's
but
right.
you can't just say kill all men because you don't mean it.
No, I'm not.
Like you can't physically able to.
And it loses respect.
One at a time. Go ahead.
You can go first.
My first statement was I don't think it is right. Okay, I'm not.
No, neither
I don't
of
think
it
it's
is right.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they should be allowed to say something like that. Like it's just a joking matter. But the reason why I was trying to clarify what she was saying is. The reason why there is, though, a difference between saying kill all men versus kill all women is because one is theoretically possible while the other isn't. Because if men wanted to team up and take out the woman species, they could. They have the means to do so. They're the ones in power. I'm not saying what happened.
This is such a hypothetical. Like it just doesn't even.
They have the strength, definitely. They have
I don't know if
the
you guys
human
cannot
strength,
deny that men, if they wanted to, I'm not saying it would happen, but if they wanted to, they could cause severe harm on the woman species, where vice versa is not possible unless we just start poisoning our water system.
It is happening. It is happening, though. It is happening.
Are we talking about plastics in the water system?
No, I'm just saying like it's not. It just. What episode? I don't know. It's a what's it called? There's a terminology in philosophy for this, why something can feel icky and it could be exactly reversed and not feel icky anymore. It's because
so just trying to bring things back here really quick. So when it comes to the whole feminism, it's about equality. Feminism is not about equality. It's a women's advocacy movement. They will secure equality if said equality comes at the benefit of women, but they will not pursue equality in realms or scenarios where that equality does not benefit women in some way. So it's not really a true equality movement in the same way that it would be for egalitarianism. Because also, like, I don't want to linger on this for too much longer because we need to move on to a couple things. But if you look at, for example, you often hear arguments about the wage gap. Men get paid more money. But like when women are like trying to secure these certain jobs or these certain fields, you hear it with STEM. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But women are it's not about across the board equality. Women are fighting for the cushy, safe, air-conditioned office jobs, the high-paying jobs. You don't see like women in the streets. Yeah, we want, for example, like there's all kinds of gaps. There's a workplace death gap. There's a workplace injury gap. 93% of workplace deaths are men. That seems pretty bad. Why don't we equalize that?
Equalize the death that happens.
He's saying that in terms of the type of labor that men and women go into, in terms of physical labor, it's much higher for men to enter into those types of careers compared to women, and women are not fighting to enter those.
At the end of the day, biologically, men and women are different.
Yeah, no one's denying that.
But feminism can only exist when it comes to like workplace equality. You can only really have feminism when there's air-conditioned offices.
It's a stupid point. Men and
no,
women
it's a legitimate point because women aren't fighting for bricklaying jobs.
First of all, they are.
No, hold on. Let me just finish this. When there's a fucking gnarly storm and the electricity goes out and somebody has to go out there in the storm at 2 a.m. and it's snowing and it's below freezing, it's gonna be a fucking guy that's gonna go.
No one is denying that there is biological differences between men and women. That's not how our system is built to stand. That would mean that if we have a bunch of women who are going into doing those careers, or we can have a bunch of men now who want to become more teachers, nurses, those positions, cleaners. That the reason why our society is set up this way, because that's how it breaks down.